Hello everyone, this is Data Driven Chat, and today we have Dimitris Niavis with us. I'm really excited about this because we haven't had a UX designer with us before, and Dimitris is senior UX designer, not just any designer, but a senior one. And if you don't know what UX design is, it's user interface design, and it's a really, really cool thing that you could do, right? And yeah, it's good to have you with us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me, Ghana. I've been listening to this podcast and following this, and it's really, really good to be here. Let me just clarify that UX design is not interface, user interface, UI. Mm-hmm. It's a component of the overall user experience, the UI, but it's mostly about other things.
Sorry. Yeah, you're right. I do apologize. Yeah, so it is user experience. So that's why we have X in there. But yeah, I mean, normally, you have to forgive me because I'm quite, in a sense, I'm from a previous generation of people when it used to be called user interface. Now I think it's called user experience because it evolved a lot. But this is what we're going to talk about today. So we're talking about user experience and how it evolved, and in general what it is. So thanks a lot. Thanks so much, Dimitris, for this clarification. That was important. So your work focuses on user experience and product and systems design. And this could mean different things to different people. So here we go. So how would you define what UX is, what it does, and basically tell us about what it is that you do?
Perfect. So I follow Don Norman's definition of UX design, which is the one that actually coined the term back in 1993. And user experience is everything that relates to the experience somebody has with a product. From the beginning, it started when he was with Apple. So he was talking about the packaging and how do you take it from the shop, take it to your car, how do you open it, how do you start using it, to the interface. So everything that somebody has with a product or a service. So it's an umbrella term that has a lot of things beneath it. So we do user experience design. We try to design the experience as best as we can because each person that will experience, interact with a product or a service, either be physical or digital or both, they will have an experience, either we designed it or not. So our goal is to make sure that we provide the best experience that we can and keep iterating, right? So this is the UX design thing. And we do this by trying to understand the people that are going to be using it, their day-to-day lives, their pain points, what their goals are. And we do this through research, either qualitative or quantitative. And then we design based on the insights that we have gathered, data, evidence, insights guiding our design decisions and product or service decisions. And this is how we actually designing and creating new products and services. And the whole systems thing is actually an approach because when we change something in a system, it affects everything else, right? So this understanding will help us to make sure that what we design and what we provide to people actually makes sense, and the new addition to the system will not break everything else. Does this make sense?
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Yes. Okay. Yeah, so I was also particularly excited to read on your profile. So it basically says that you are a design engineer by training, but you do human-centered design and more interdisciplinary things. So, so I guess what I also wanted to ask you is what was your personal journey into kind of going from design engineer into this more interdisciplinary understanding of user experience and UX design in particular. So what led you towards more human-centered design?
Okay, so quick background story. I had no idea what design was. So after I finished high school, I wanted to be an architect because I wanted to do something creative, and architecture was what I knew at the time. But unfortunately, I couldn't get into the school, or really fortunately, actually, because I was really lucky to not go to architecture and go to study product and systems design engineering. And once I understand what design is, I just fell in love, and I just couldn't believe that people will pay me to do what I love to do, right? So I was really excited about it and keep studying about it, learning other stuff besides what the university was teaching us, such as service design, cognitive sciences. We had someone in the curriculum, but I was studying also outside of that. And that was my background in actual design with a capital D. And I'm making a distinction because design involves research. You need to understand for whom you are designing, and then you go and design. And there are a lot of processes that I was taught from. I think they began from. Not I think they began from industrial designers, which they needed to be designing things to be massively produced and for people around the world, etc. And then these combined with psychology, cognitive science, go to digital products. So that was my background, and I separate this from design, which is mostly aesthetics. Most people see something cool, and when you say I'm a designer, oh, they say, oh, you create.
You draw things.
Yes, you're an artist, right? So there's a big distinction, and the reason I'm saying that is when I learned about the user experience, I didn't see much change from what I was being taught. And also, Don Norman's work was in the curriculum, so it was a seamless transition. Different names, same things, right? Different application of the same ideas, the same methodologies, the same processes. And to link that to the human-centered design, I think there is no other way that makes sense but than besides of creating things for humans. Because whatever we do, whatever we design, a human being, a person, a complete person with needs, desires, and other stuff to do in their day-to-day life will be using our products in order to achieve some of their goals, right? So they should be at the center of what we're doing, creating something useful for the people that are going to use it. So human-centered is the only way that makes sense to me, and the market and the history has shown that the products and the services that are actually human-centered have a bigger ROI, they survive, they have more adoption, and they actually perform way better. And I think the last part of the question was interdisciplinary.
Yes.
I don't really believe in. It's good to have disciplines to segment the reality that we need to be doing a lot of stuff so that we can communicate, say, I need to learn more about that stuff or that discipline. But if we're to create something truly human-centered, and we need to understand across disciplines, we need to have at least some common vocabulary and understanding of what's going on. And my goal was always to be able to provide the best meaningful, useful experience for whatever project I'm involved. And this means that I should go beyond my discipline if needed, right? And because innovation is a team sport, I needed to be able to discuss findings and insights with business and developers and data people. So this is why I'm saying I'm trying to do interdisciplinary design.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if I may, I just wanted to kind of expand a little bit on this. And I was once asked this question in an interview, actually, but just as a follow-up. So how many disciplines do you think we need to have an interdisciplinary work? And what kind of disciplines give you interdisciplinarity? Because, you often hear that, for example, I don't know, economics and psychology are very close to each other, or like, I don't know, engineering and mathematics are too close to each other. So to have interdisciplinary, you really need to have like really different disciplines. So in your view, what is it? What is interdisciplinary? What does it mean?
I don't know. I don't know how to answer this question, to be honest. But it depends. And I don't think that we need to have interdisciplinary. We need to do our best, right? And in order for us to do our best, given a specific problem, we need to involve all the right disciplines for us to make the best decisions that we can at the moment, and then go and create the best solution that we can at the moment. So I won't be able to say we need these 4 disciplines, but we need to have the ones that are actually needed. And the people that are in these disciplines, they need to be able to communicate in efficient ways. So if you have the best people in silos, I don't think that would lead to collaboration and creation of useful. And I think this term useful will be something that we'll discuss today a bit.
Yeah. I mean, so we will go deeper into this. Okay. So let's just talk about kind of stay focused on you and how you developed your career. So for those people who don't know your work, if I asked you to tell us kind of the most impressive thing that you've done in your career so far, something you're most proud of, what would it be?
Okay, I don't know how to answer this exactly, because I don't know how to pick my favorite child.
I appreciate that.
About a bit.
Yeah, I'll try.
Yes, I will do my best. So one of the things that I'm most proud of is helping teams, my team actually. Let's talk about the latest time that I did this. My team and the company that I work for, to increase what we say UX maturity. And this means understanding what UX is, because a lot of people have heard the word UX, and they think that they understand what UX is, and they only focus on the tangible thing, what they see, and this is a cute interface. But they do not understand how we reach what's beneath the iceberg, right? There is a lot of work that needs to be done in order for us to reach what's the tangible thing, the interface. So letting them know what it is, how it's being done, and how we should be doing it. And actually start to create all the processes for the team and the company to start leveraging UX and in order for us to create better solutions for the users that we have at the moment, or we're targeting, right? So as Dr. John Pagonis says, and this is a really nice quote, in each UX project is a transformation project, because we're changing the way that the company works. And if you do UX correctly, you will be open to hear what your users are saying. You will be open to hear what your stakeholders are saying. And it's not just internal stakeholders, they're external stakeholders, people that will be affected by what you're doing. Either it's a product or it's a service. People that need to deliver this product or service should be considered as well. So you're starting to listen, and that's transformation. And the more that you listen, you're breaking down your assumptions, and that's magical. When you start watching this, this doesn't happen in an instant, right? It's a journey. You start with something small, and then you build on top of that. And that's something that I'm really proud of, because I did my part to help transform a team and a small part of the organization, and this has ripple effects. It's an ongoing process, and this is really interesting to see how this evolves as time goes by.
It sounds really cool. I mean, I think actually working in UX design is something that a lot of people want to do, because it's always, I guess, something new every day. So, and in terms of, so kind of continuing our line of conversation about your career. So for those people who do not really, and still, I mean, I know that you have given the extensive introduction to UX design by now in this interview. For those people who still do not understand what it involves, can you give an example of a project, or maybe some, particularly exciting project that you worked on, so that, it's kind of better syncs with everyone, so that they could understand what it is that, UX designer does?
Okay, I will try to, give you an example of one of the projects that I like the most and I'm most proud of. So after COVID had started, we were asked to drop whatever we were doing. First of all, a little background. I work in a company that's part of a big group of companies that are in the travel industry. So we're creating software for one specific company of the group, but all these companies are interconnected and working with each other, right? So we were doing a project at some point. We asked to stop that and go back and work on another project that was really important for the organization. And that project was actually pretty much defined by a business analyst and the stakeholders. So we were handed a requirements document, and it was, here, build this. We have examples of the interface and what you need to be doing. All the feature set is there, except some occasions that the UX must figure out how this would work. So they introduced a huge complexity, huge complexity. And we were asked to just do that. Okay, and that project was really critical for the company because it's how we make money. So really important product, defined by people that are not trained, but did their best, right? Because they wanted the company to achieve. And what we needed to do is understand why all these decisions were made. So we, and when I say we, it's me and the product owner of the team, started a journey of talking with stakeholders, observing users, gathering data, both qualitative and quantitative, and that was really good because we had triangulation on our findings, on the evidence that we get. And we started talking with stakeholders and C-level executives about how we can actually deliver what they needed in a different way, completely different way, right? Which was not the way the group used to work. It doesn't make sense for now, till now.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right, so we did all this journey, and we took what it would be a 25 screens application, and we got all the functionality down to 3 based on what they needed from interviews and observation of the users. And we make it in 3, everything that they needed in 3 screens with more functionality and room to add more functionality and add more data, because it's a data heavy application. So we figured out the needs that they were underlying the requirements, the underlying needs from the requirements, and we created a new design so that they could do their work really faster and more efficiently, without less error prone, because they were able to see all the data that they have and they needed to be seen at each decision-making point. Easier to develop, easier to maintain, and this is something that I'm really happy about. And if I went deep at some point, and if you need some clarifications, just let me know.
Yeah, I think well, we will kind of go deeper into UX in a second. So, but yeah, I think it gives it gives people an idea of what it is, what the UX design is. So basically, yeah, I mean, when so I know that you're quite active on social media, and I watched one of your interviews where you talked about so you kind of distinguished between data-driven and data-informed, and you said that user experience design should be data-informed rather than data-driven. Which, I mean, we're now at kind of data-driven channel, which is which is worrisome. But yeah, so what I wanted to ask you is, so for our audience, can you explain the difference between the two, and why do you think that user experience should be data informed rather than data driven? So what is the difference between the two? Because some people could argue that that's exactly the same.
True. Okay. So the way I understand data driven is whatever the data tells us. We will do whatever the data says, right? As in contrast to data informed, which is we will have data and we will have our experience and expertise, and these data that we have gathered, they will inform our decision-making process. So we will leverage both knowledge and the data, not just the data. So if the data are saying do something that doesn't make sense, we can say, okay, either we need to go and gather more data to make sure that this is what we should be doing, or we should do something else. Basically, if the data tells you that you have that something doesn't make sense, you either need to go back and check how you did your research, how you gathered your data, how the result data have how have you gathered this? Sorry, or you need to dig deeper because there's something that you should be looking at. So this is why I'm saying that data informed is best, is better, not best. And don't get me wrong, it's really good to hear that switch from the mentality of what the highest paying person in the room, the CEO or the whatever manager is saying we should be doing. It's really good to jump from an assumption driven product development to data driven. But I don't see people paying enough attention to how they gather the data and what data they're gathering. Because gathering data, just data, any data, doesn't say anything. If you're making decisions based on crappy data or on bad data, then you will make crappy decisions with high confidence, right? And I think this is something that we should be discussing, especially in data and UX, that we need to make sure that, okay, we will base our decisions on data, but on which data? And I see a lot of people that they focus too much on vanity metrics because they need to have some metrics, and some of these metrics really look good on their quarter presentation, right? And they get their bonuses. And they used to drive product decision based on this. But in the long term, these things doesn't make any sense. Like we need to understand as organizations and people that are out building things and want to achieve goals, which metrics make sense? Which data do we need to gather in order for us to be able to answer the important questions? And then make sure that the way that we do our research is the right way so that we get valid data and then make sound decisions at the moment. Like, I have the pleasure of working with two exceptional data persons, Dr. Denise Zifaras and Xanthi Lemonzoglu, that helped me to understand a lot of how data work. And I saw the overlaps with UX. And I think in organization that you have UXers and data people, bring them together and let them work, because it's a match made in heaven, let's say. It's really good, and both of them enable each other. I think they can enable each other and provide better insights to the organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you touched on obviously a very important problem. We often discuss it in the series that, kind of you can have this problem with rubbish in, rubbish out, right? When we talk about data. And, a lot of people think that data science is some sort of magic wand, but it's not. Models and algorithms are trained on data. And certainly, you want, absolutely correctly saying, you need to understand what insight your data provides and kind of build it also on your expertise plus data, not just based on data, right? All these things definitely are extremely important, especially for the business development in the current situation, especially when many people are still kind of confined to their homes because of COVID. So we'll see how the situation unravels. So hopefully with vaccines, we'll soon be able to do more, but hopefully, we'll see the change soon, or sooner rather than
fingers
later.
Crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Yeah. So in terms of, I just want to kind of go a little bit deeper into this question. So one thing that I'm often wondering is, considering the data that we have on users, why is it that very often user experience is designed when we already, so let's just take an example of product design, right? Just as one, because systems, I think, is going to be too complicated. So let's just take product design. So very often, I mean, this is my experience. I have very few observations, I have to say. So maybe it's completely skewed towards my experience. But very often what happens is you get people who are sitting somewhere in marketing, and then they get UX designer at a stage when the product is already there, right? Despite the fact that there is a lot of data available about customers, and then you kind of are retrofitting, backward engineering the audience to the product, right? So why is it that very few, so I think it's kind of this comes back to your point about maturity. So why is it that very few companies actually take this data, I'm going to use your terminology, data-informed approach in designing products, for example, right? Is that lack of understanding? Is that lack of experience? Is that just they don't have the right people? Like, what just from your experience, what do you think?
All of these. I think it's all of these, and I believe that mostly it starts with one of the most dangerous things that could happen in a company, and people believing that this is how we've always been doing this. So marketing is widespread, and everybody knows about marketing and what it can offer to a company. And marketers used to do this by using demographics. So all the new processes, all the new from data people, right? Gathering data, a lot of data from huge data sets from different data points, and figuring out patterns and seeing behaviors. and UX people talking with people, talking with users, and etc. They don't know what this is. So they say what you want to create are, let's say, you want to find who the customer is. Marketing knows.
Mm-hmm.
They hear the same name and they say, okay, personas. You marketing has personas. UX wants to make personas. Why should we pay to do the same thing, right? But it's not the same. It's hugely different, and the purpose is different. So lack of knowledge what this is, having people saying that we don't need this, we already have it, and I think these are the most important things that are holding us back, and we should be solving these by educating. Whenever we start working for a company or interviewing for a company, we should speak out. And I think if you start working for a company, it's part of our role to help colleagues and teammates understand what's that. We need to educate them, but it's not we the all-knowing thing that educates the other. It's we're being paid for this, and we should help them understand how they can leverage what we bring to the table and let us actually do our work. And I think that, from what I've seen, at least my experience, that's the same thing as in UX and data, right? Because they believe that we are this magical thing that when you bring it to the team in a magic way, we're not going to change anything else. But since we got a UX person or a data person, we're going to change the product and everybody's going to be happy. The user is going to be happy and we're going to be flooded with money. No, that's not the way it works. You have the expertise, you have the person, and you need to make the necessary changes to let them work, leverage their knowledge, and then you start to see results. So yeah, definitely we need to educate people and let them know what we're doing.
So considering all these limitations, right, and understanding, I mean, as a behavioral data scientist, I face very similar issues, I have to say. So, so considering all these limitations on UX design as a field, right, what do you think was the most important achievement of UX design? Do you think it's been we already saw the whole potential of UX design, or we're just kind of seeing the tip of the iceberg and it can do a lot more? So what's your take on this?
I think we're starting now to see the potential of UX design. A lot of organizations have UX people in it, at least with the title UX, but not that many actually leverage it. And this has to do with maturity. This takes time you need to see results, you need to see the ROI of UX. But the organizations that are actually doing proper UX, I think they're top of in their market. They're doing really, really well. And to answer to my opinion, right? This is my opinion.
Yeah,
what's the most important thing is that it introduced the notion that we don't know everything. We're not designing for ourselves, so we should not make as less decisions as we can based on assumptions. We need to go out there. We need to talk with our users, right? I think this is one of the biggest contributions that it has made. It has opened the door for others to join in the same fight. It has helped at least the tech world to have less self-proclaimed Steve Jobs, because everybody was a genius and they just didn't need to listen to the customer and the user. They just needed to get their genius out of their head and then get somebody to create it. So as time moves on, people are listening more, and that's a good way, because in my opinion, this helps to create better collaboration. And I think this is for me the most important thing that UX has done so far.
kind of a question that I think a lot of people would want to ask a UX designer, especially in current digital economy. So considering all this potential that you just articulated, and you're saying that, there's a lot we can do, and also your notion of data-informed approach to UX design. A lot of people are currently concerned about privacy, especially with, surveillance economy. So all this, discussion around ethics and personal data. Do you think we will be able to actually reach this balance between privacy and personalization? So is it even possible to create, personalized product that respect people's privacy? And if so, can you think of an example, of successful personalization that is also privacy preserving?
First of all, I sure hope so. And because this has huge potential to create smarter and more useful products and services. I think that what Apple is doing right now with the secure enclave and having everything that has to do with personalization stored in its user's device and never it's encrypted and never communicated, never transferred anywhere else. So not the developer, third-party developers or Apple know anything about you or any personalized information about you. I think this is the way to go. And in order for us to do it, we need to see this huge market, this huge potential in the market that is being created. What Apple is doing, I think it's great because I want to pay you to get the service. I don't want to be the product and to have all this, what Facebook is doing, right? I hate what Facebook is doing. So I believe that the way to go is to offer the best quality service and get paid for it. So you don't have to sell all the data. You don't have to collect the data. You do anonymized products, gathering no personal information by design. And I think that if we follow this and we see the potential of that, we can definitely achieve that.
Yeah, so I think...
Hopefully.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
No, that was...
Okay. So you're hoping that it will... Okay, so you're hoping that it will be successful. Yeah, to me, I think these two companies that you just mentioned, Apple and Facebook, they represent kind of the two separate poles where, to me, Facebook is more kind of trying to exaggerate. So they basically are trying to understand, on top of the demographics that the user kind of provides upon signing up, the likes of the user, right? So everyone has this kind of like table, big matrix of likes with Facebook, and they kind of try to figure out what it is that you like, and then try to offer you some services. But because obviously we make a lot of random choices on a daily basis, like for example, I get completely irrelevant suggestions.
Yes. Yes.
Well, now I no longer have a Facebook account, I have to say, so I deleted my Facebook account. But
yes.
Yeah, so it is a very very random process with Facebook. But like my worry about the current approach with Apple is that I think what they're doing, the cool thing that they're doing, like you said, that they are more concentrating on the context around the decision, right? And they're trying to kind of hyper measure everything that happens in the context. But then again, the user is important. So completely kind of giving up on the user data, I'm not sure, because, you are making your decisions in context, right? So you have some personal characteristics that will play out differently in context. So to me, I think these are two cases that are very interesting. I certainly agree with you that like Apple will, Apple definitely has an advantage here because they're working on something new. But like my worry there is that you could, the same context could affect different decision makers in different ways. And I'm not quite sure how they're going to deal with it once they, learn enough about the contexts, because I don't see the kind of the individual part there. But you're absolutely right that it will be privacy preserved. So do you feel that that's it's like that, or do you think that there is this individual component in Apple, so they still kind of have some core information about the user? Because my reading of the latest developments in Apple is that they kind of completely went after the context, and that could be also quite dangerous because there is a lot of randomness in the context that we face. So if I don't know, on one particular evening I decide that I prefer a milkshake rather than a coffee. I mean, it's interesting, but can you put me in exactly the same context, tomorrow? That's a big question. So to me, like Apple went too much after these things, or is going. My reading is that they're going too much after these things. Or am I wrong there?
You know a lot more than I do on this.
Well, but maybe, I'm not a UX designer, so maybe I'm reading this wrong. So that's why I'm asking you. So do you think they still kind of have this, so they have an understanding that, so this person is, I don't know, a young professional, or this person is a mature specialist, or this person is a child, or something like this, So do they have these still kind of, I'm not going to say like demographic characteristics, but more of a stable behavioral traits that go into the contextual modeling? Because like to me, it seems that it's all about context, but I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I know less. Less than you, for sure. But to go back to the question about the personalization, right, and how we can achieve it, and if there's a way to do this. While you were talking, I was trying to get to some basics that I believe that we should be doing, or the company that's, if it's not Apple, or the company that will achieve this. So we need to gather all the information needed to make the best proposal and personalize the experience for the person, but we don't need to own or gather this information. So what Apple is doing, keeping it on the device, is cool. And we need to make sure that we make suggestions that people actually want. And I don't just say about milkshake or coffee. I'm talking about change their behavior to something that they want to achieve. Else, it's what we call the dark pattern. We're nudging people towards something that we want, and it's against their interest. So we need to make sure that these two things are happening. If they find out how to manipulation is bad, right? So we don't want that. And I think it will be based on the company and the people in charge, right?
Yeah. Well, and certainly, like, we saw the latest Apple commercial last year, which is all about privacy, and it's like, we are the most most privacy conscious company, and yet a lot of the business, the nature of the, between the two, Apple and Facebook, of course, I think Apple is doing more sensible stuff. But still, a lot of, if you work in technology, a lot of your business, be it, Facebook, Google, or Apple, a lot of your business is built on understanding of the user, right? And it's all about data about the users. So I'm curious how they're gonna do it.
if you understand the user on the device, if what needs all the decisions are here and
Yeah,
not
yeah.
some centralized, then I think it's cool. And this is one potential way. And also
It's a
what
good
Apple
way,
is
but
doing.
then again, you're a little bit. I don't know. So I mean, I understand your excitement about it, and I'm also kind of share it in part. But also, considering how vulnerable the devices are, to
Okay.
cybersecurity issues, for example. So all of a sudden, you have a lot bigger problems potentially with, just keeping the data on the device, because, you could lose control of your device, and that could be an issue. Of course, Apple has some checks and balances there with cloud, so everything is backed up on some sort of cloud. And you can quickly restore it. But still, I once was on a panel with some folks, one of which was a hacker, and he basically had a demonstration that he could download your entire phone contents within 12 seconds. That's how much you need. 12 seconds. Everything that is on your whole life that is on your smartphone could be downloaded by someone. So, yeah, I mean, you also need to consider that. And like you said, I'm sure that, they are considering that, Apple are smart guys, but still there is.
But they're trying to, what they're doing is good. Maybe it's not perfect, but the way I see it is, first of all, they're introducing something like that to the market, and more people will understand that they have a need and they would pay money for that. I think more and more people are getting conscious of what's going on with our privacy and our data. And we are at the point that I could actually would prefer to be in social media that I would pay and my data would be secure. I wouldn't get exploited as I am right now, or I used to be in Facebook or other social media. It's not just Facebook, but Facebook is the worst. So yeah, the more people understand that this is something that we want and will be paying good money for it, I think we will see solutions that will improve this situation. And Apple needs to keep a balance, right? They cannot go full throttle, do the most extreme thing, and they're leading the way, I think, or I sure believe.
Okay. So leaving kind of Apple alone, so you already touched on this, on the kind of overuse of demographics. I actually want to go deeper into this question as well. So I often also face these difficulties. So one example that I can think of, so I kind of work a lot with media companies, and I cannot really get it, because despite all the data that is available about viewers and viewer preferences, and these companies have quite detailed understanding of viewers. They know the customer really well. They still produce, for example, TV programs are still produced for demographic categories. Like, this is a program for, I don't know, teenage girls or something, or people over 40 or whatever. So it's just, I just cannot really understand why does it take such a long time for different sectors to shift towards this understanding that demographics is probably not the right way to go, because people with the same demographics or with different demographics could go for the same product, and people with the same demographic can go for different products, right? So how do you fight this in UX design?
Oh, that in UX design it's easy because actually we can show them users that belong in the same demographic and have completely different behaviors. and it's all about the behavior, what they're doing, what the needs that they have, and what they expect of the product, their frustrations and opportunities, etc. So show, don't tell. We can show them that demographic, making decisions just based on demographic, or making decision on demographics, I think it's stupid. We need to have behavioral patterns that will show us what we need to be doing. We need to gather like evidence. Demographics, I think it's grouping. Sometimes we used to do it like that, made sense because we didn't have anything else. We made some money, but now we have new things. We have the fields are evolving. So I don't know why studios are doing it or media companies are doing it like that. But my assumption would be because they don't have people to say that, okay, it used to work, but now there's a new reality.
Mm-hmm.
And take advantage of your data, because I think that they have a lot of data. But again, just having data doesn't say anything. You need to have the right data, and then you need to treat them the right way so that you get evidence, you get insights.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what's really matters. And yeah.
So from your experience, are there any sectors of, segments of the market that has enough maturity for understanding, how you can really design human-centered products, services, systems? Or is there any heterogeneity there, or is it generally like homogeneous and kind of we are up against this lack of understanding and other issues that you have already identified?
I think it's a bit better in the tech industry, because more people, well, you have data persons and UX persons and they don't need to have this in their title. You have more people that they understand, and mostly they understand because they have failed already and they've seen that, and there is no limitless bucket of money. So it's easier. Things are better there because there's more adoption. And thus greater maturity. But overall, things are bad, are really bad. But they're getting better at the same time. So I'm optimistic, but realistic at the same time, because we're not good. There are quite a few organizations that they understand the value of UX and data, right? Data-informed decisions, evidence-based product and service design. But more and more people are getting there. So this is a good thing. And I think actually evolution happens over time. So we're going to the right direction.
Sounds good. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of my next question, and it's about the future. So where do you think UX is going? So what should we expect in the next 5 years? What would be the hot topics or directions of development in your opinion?
Okay, I predict what I see is getting more adoption, more companies, more organizations will hire UX people, and will start listening to UX people. There will be seats in the table. They are at the moment, but not that much. There will be more, and that's a really good thing. Data and research will be thus more into the culture of companies. I think this artificial intelligence or machine learning tools will start to be integrated at some point. There are into UX work to create prototypes and figure out how we can test, create prototypes and test with users. I think these are the good things. And I see also something bad. More people will have the UX in their title, but they don't know what it is, right? So they only focus again on the tangible. We have a lot of people like that today, and it's a pain because if a company decides to start doing UX and they hire such a person and they crash the boat in the rocks, then they lose trust in UX. And the next UX person needs to go there and regain the trust and do all the work again. I see the people, because it's a growing field, more people will get into UX. But unless they're trained, correctly trained, this will create some issues, but they will not reduce the speed of UX adoption and maturity.
Mm-hmm. Well,
positive.
Yeah, welcome to the club. I think there is the same problem in behavioral science. Not so much for behavioral data science, I think, because there are you need to actually learn quite a lot of, quite a lot about both fields, behavioral science and data science. But I think in behavioral science, certainly, I think there is a big problem because there are people doing, say, digital marketing that has very little to do with behavioral science, and they call it behavioral science. And now, behavioral scientists who do kind of more rigorous work, like you said, evidence-based work, they have an issue. So certainly that's common to several related areas, I think. Tell us, what are you, I know that you probably cannot go too much into detail because that must be quite commercially sensitive, but can you share with us what are you currently working on, what keeps you awake at night, what makes you excited?
Okay, I cannot say much about the company that I work for, but I can say some things about a pet project that I have. So we're working, me and my colleague, Dimitris, we have created an iOS application that we're trying to help people change their behavior towards focusing, deep work, and their productivity. And I'm not gonna plug it here, but it's an app that does that, and we're trying to figure out ways how we can do more research with people, because as we mentioned before, we have designed this application with gathering no data whatsoever from the users, and this was from day one by design, because we don't like to get all the data taken from us. So this is why we did it. And what keeps me up at night is to make sure how I can improve this and measure how much we are helping people to achieve their goals without actually gathering any data from them. So this is something that's really interesting for me. It's a challenge, right? Because when you need to practice what you believe, it's a bit hard sometimes until you figure out how to do this. So yeah, I'm learning more about behavioral science, which is really, really exciting for me. And trying to apply this in combination with UX, I think they're really close together, in a project that respects privacy. So this is something that keeps me up at night sometimes.
Yeah, certainly exciting project, and good luck with it. I think, I'm particularly interested what you're going to come up with, especially in terms of practical tools, because I think there is a lot of talk about, privacy preserving products and services, and no one actually managed to crack it yet, well, in my opinion anyway. But I think I agree with you, like you said before, it's it's a matter of time probably before we figure out how to do it, and good luck. So we came to the set of traditional questions that I asked at the end, Yeah, so I think many interviewees complain about these questions because it's hard to kind of work within the restrictions of the questions. Not so much the questions themselves are hard. Yeah, so the first question is, if I ask you to recommend one book and one film, what would your recommendations be? And they don't have to be a UX the based books and the films, but just something maybe that you like, you keep coming back to. Oh, okay. Quantifying the user experience.
Yes, by Jeff Sauro and James Lewis. Amazing book about how you can actually do what the title says. I would recommend to viewers of this podcast. I go back to this book quite often. It's really, really helpful.
Yeah, we could tell by the post-it notes that are inside. You could see that there are favorite parts probably.
Yes, really, really useful because it helps a lot to communicate the value of UX. Besides showing people their reactions to what we're building, which is one good way. When we talk to senior executives, we need to be able to speak businesses, right? We need to talk their language and numbers and ROI and stuff like that, how we move the needle with each iteration, or let them know that we invested that amount in research and this is what we got back, the ROI of that investment. That's really important. And this book helps you to do this quite good. I think it's the best that I've read so far on that specific aspect.
Brilliant.
And I think it goes good with the podcast as well.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. Yeah, people will be asking, I know, what can we read on UX design if you were to pick like a more general book, which some people do. So how about a film?
I would have to say Pixar's new film called Soul. It's I saw it a couple of days before, and this is what pops in mind. It's really, really amazing. Well, Pixar, they have, I think they have the best storytellers there, and the whole idea is how we spend our lives and believing that we should start living after we reach a specific goal, but not right now. I'm not gonna spoil a lot of this, but I think it's definitely worth watching. It's brilliant.
Yeah, definitely brilliant film, and especially in the part, so I like the part also without spoiling it, that we kind of all think that we will have another life that we will be able to kind of improve on the current life, and then so all of this hope, I guess it's quite ridiculous because there is only one life after all, right? And many people just do not understand that, and so that film definitely highlights it really well. So here's the question that I added in 2021 series, and it's about your favorite fictional character. So who is your favorite fictional character?
Okay. Now that's a hard one. Big Lebowski. I would say
cool.
Big Lebowski.
Yeah, very UX designerish choice. Really cool.
Why? Why do you say that?
But I mean, this kind of character basically, I think, impersonates a lot of the behavioral biases, and at the same time, the desire to make money without putting too much effort into it and all that kind of stuff. So it's all about, it's about humans, right? So in that sense, it's about understanding people, really, this character. Yeah, so cool.
Was focusing on other aspects of
Oh well, tell me,
Witkowski's
because
character.
yeah, tell me what you put in it.
What I like the most is the coolness that the character has, and everything around him might go in flames, and he stays relaxed and cool and not actually focused. But I really like this
The optimism
reaction
and calmness.
Yes, and optimism. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I love the film, so
Yeah, this is really cool film as well. Oh, well, there you go. Dimitris Niavis for you with all his recommendations. And we figured out today what user experience design is. And it's not to be confused with user interface, the mistake I made at the beginning. Yeah, we heard about data informed, not data driven approach to it, and why it is important, and all the exciting things that Dimitris is doing, and on not only on UX but also on privacy preserving tools. So certainly good luck with everything that you are doing, Dimitris, and thank you so much for finding the time to talk to me today, and I'm sure that a lot of people will find this conversation very insightful. And thank you for sharing your ideas and your thoughts and your experience with us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast talking to you. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. I hope people enjoy this, and if they want to ask me a question, please find me on LinkedIn and let's have a chat. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, so the links to Dimitris's social media will be underneath this video, so please engage with him. I know he's very responsive to messages. I tested it firsthand, I have an experience. So yeah, and thanks a lot again. And yeah, hopefully we'll catch up sometime in the future as well. So I'm really looking forward to seeing more privacy preserving tools. So it will be cool to see your work in the future when it's a ready product or service. I don't know, you didn't mention, but let's just assume product. And yeah, thanks a lot again. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.